Welcome back to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. I apologize for the absence. More on that at the end of this episode if you're interested. I want to do 2 episodes about Iran and try to put them out today, Wednesday, the 18th. And because we're about to go to war, it looks like. And so first of all, I want to talk about how that Iran was not working on their nuclear program to weaponize to the grade 3, which is 90%. They were not even working on it. And if they started working on it, then their breakout point was 1 to 3 years away. 1 year is Bibi Netanyahu saying, and we don't trust him about anything, but he says in 1 year, if they were to start weaponizing to grade 3, but they haven't even started weaponizing. And I got an article here saying it's 3 years is the breakout point when they would actually have a bomb. Not to mention a delivery device that they would have to create. They maybe had to test, and then so this is just absolute ridiculous. So all of Trump's talk about is Iran cannot have a bomb, but they're not making a bomb. They have grade 2, and the breakout point to get to grade 3 is 1 to 3 years away. But they haven't even started working on it because they don't want this. You know what's happening to them right now, and so we're just going to go over the details. So basically what happened is, I covered in a previous episode, I could put the link below, but in 1953, the United States did a coup on the democratically elected leader of Iran in order to install a dictator, and so that we could, the British Petroleum Company, BP, could basically take over their Iranian oil facilities. It's always about the oil, of course. And so one of the benefits of them completely selling out their own people and putting this dictator in is that they got to have a nuclear program. So in 1956, they basically started up a nuclear program for civilian purposes. In 1958, they became a member of the International Atomic Energy Agency. And then in 1968, they joined the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which Israel is not a signatory to, and they illegally have nuclear weapons, right? So there's that. And now when you're in the Non-Proliferation Treaty, you have to have inspectors come and make sure that everything is legitimate. So then in 1979, we had the Islamic Revolution because the people of Iran wanted to get rid of the United States and British installed dictator. And so basically what happens is they resume kind of the nuclear program in 2003. And when you're doing a nuclear program, there's a couple different metrics here. You want from 3.5 to 5% enriched for your civilian program. You want 20% enriched if you're going to use it for medical. So basically, they weren't being transparent. And so Obama stepped in, and in 2015, they signed the JCPOA, which is the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And in it, they agreed to all types of more inspections. And they held up their end of the JCPOA until, well, they held up past this, but in 2018, Donald Trump ripped it up and said he's done with it, right? Now Iran declared its continued commitment to the agreement, and Iran was going to stick to the JCPOA, even though it's no longer a thing. Donald Trump has ripped it up, right? So in 2020, Donald Trump assassinates Qasem Soleimani, which we have an episode on. I'll put a link in the description below, because he was going to a peace treaty with Saudi Arabia, and it's not in Israel's interest for Iran to have peace with Saudi Arabia because one of them Shia, one of them Sunni. And so President Trump illegally assassinated him in Iraq in order to stop that peace treaty on behalf of Israel. So in response to that, one of the blowback for the United States doing that illegal and immoral, evil action on behalf of a foreign country in Trump's first term was that Iran said, okay, we're now done with the JCPOA. So you figure and this happened over the course of 2020 and 2021, but it was blowback from the Soleimani killing. But so they stuck to the treaty for 5 or 6 years after Trump had, oh no, I'm sorry, that's wrong. For 2 to 3 years, my apologies, because that was 2018, Trump got rid of it. And in 2020, 2021, they said, hey, we're just not going to do that anymore. So then what they do is this. They begin it. They already have everything they need for the grade 1, right? And so now they basically enrich to grade 2 and stop there. And they keep increasing their supply of grade 1 and increasing their supply of grade 2. But if you never go to grade 3, you can never have a bomb. and they have never gone above. Well, actually, there was a time in the 80s when they were at war with Iraq that they went to 79%, but then they ended up getting rid of that for the 2003 thing and the JCPOA thing. So basically, they're sitting on all this 60%, which is great too, but they need to get to 90% for a bomb, but they're never enriching past 60%. So this is called a latent deterrent. What it is you can't attack them, because if you were to attack them, they would immediately begin enriching from 60 to 90, and they would have a breakout period. That breakout period is the time based on whether they're doing plutonium or uranium. They're doing uranium based on the machinery, the expertise they have, and there's a breakout time of when they could have their first bomb, which doesn't include creating the device to deliver it, creating, doing the test, getting the second bomb, actually delivering it. So when Netanyahu was on Brett Baer the other day, and they asked him, what's their breakout time? And he said 11 to 12 months. But they haven't even started enriching to 90%, right? Because we have Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, Director of National Intelligence, over all the intelligence agencies. And on February of 2025, she released, she basically, I should put it up on the screen for you. She had a written statement saying the United States intelligence community continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khomeini has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. So we also have her in March of 2025 testifying in front of Congress the exact same thing. I'm not going to play it for you. It's just the exact same thing. So we have that. And then I have this article. Now, this came out on CNN, but I couldn't find the CNN article, so I'm going to give you from the Mirror, but they're just quoting the CNN article. I literally went on their website and couldn't find it. This is from June 17, 2025, but the CNN article came out about a week ago. And basically, it's the U.S. analysis that the breakout time's 3 years, but they haven't even started the process of going from 60 to 90. So, and they're in the process of negotiations to get rid of all the 60%, because the deal that Iran wants is that, and they've already figured this all out. They just want a lifting of all the sanctions. They've had sanctions on them, some of them from 79 all the way from 1979 during their revolution. So we're talking 46 years of sanctions. Some of them from 84, 85 and during the Iran-Iraq war, but they just have all these ridiculous sanctions on them for decades and decades, whole lives of people who are now grown, and some of them are, grandchildren are being born, and they just live their lives under these sanctions. And so basically the deal that they want to do is they want to give up all of their 60% enriched uranium, and then basically have that sent to France. France will process it, send fuel rods back for their civilian program, and then the nuclear waste will be sent to Russia, because Iran doesn't even have the ability to process nuclear waste into fuel. So that will go to Russia. And this is the deal they're working on. And my point here, because I'm going to do another episode after this, and that episode is going to be all the different incongruities that are going on with this, unrelated to the fact that they haven't even begun enrichment to the third grade, to the 90%. And so, I don't know, it's like, I can't figure out the exact analogy, but it's like there's somebody in Russia who really hates me and my family, and they have a lower 80 weapons kit, which they can craft into a full weapon. And then they can travel 3 years over here walking and swimming to kill my family. But they're like, no, we're not going to put together that kit yet. We're not interested. But we'll go into negotiations with you about giving away the kit. And then I say, well, existential threat to me and my family, existential threat. They could at one point begin putting together that kit and doing that 3-year journey. But they haven't yet. And they're in negotiations to give away the kit and not even possess the kit. And it's like, so when you see Trump and he's saying, Iran can't have a bomb. Iran's not pursuing a bomb. And so that's all just propaganda. And everything Netanyahu says is propaganda. We already know this. This guy's been lying to us for how many decades, But when Trump does this, he absolutely and totally betrays the American people on behalf of a foreign nation and puts many people at risk, because the target's not going to be you at home or me at home. The target's going to be our troops over there in the region, which we just sent the USS Nimitz over there, so we got more targets for Iran to shoot if we enter the war, and putting Israel at risk, And I'm not a fan of either of those, because I don't want Iranians hurt. I'm not on Iran's side. I don't want Israelis hurt. I'm definitely not on Israel's side. I don't want our soldiers hurt. I'm not on our military side, really, because the military is always doing terrible things. But I don't want the individual Americans to die or be injured, you know. But I think this is a good one because if somebody were talking, and I don't know how they're going to try to pump the United States up to war because they haven't done the propaganda campaign yet where they get everybody to rally around the flag. But if they do try to do that and you've got friends or, you know, spouses or just anybody who's getting on board with that, coworkers, you could just hit them with these facts. It's a really simple argument. Anyways, that's what I got for you. We'll do the episode and I'm not publish it after this or whatever the editing time is. You know, it'll come out a couple hours later probably. So then anyways, I apologize about the absence. My daughter was in the NICU for 40 days and I got to take care of all these kids and, you know, the wife's staying over there, you know, and it was just a really difficult time. I couldn't do research and it's very, very difficult. I am working on a lot of really good stuff, but it's just all paused basically during that period. And I don't know when the exact regular schedule's going to work because there might be another week of absence and then I go back to the steady Tuesday, Thursday schedule. Anyways, I appreciate y'all, you know, if you came back and watched this video after an absence because, you know, that's exceptional of you to do. Anyways, and I'll see you, well, in a couple hours with the next episode.